Hello, friends. Happy Sunday. I hope that you've had the best weekend. I hope that you got to spend some time with your family. You got to be outside on these beautiful sunny days. And I just hope it was wonderful. I spent some time outside and I sat in my kiddie pool and I grilled some burgers and it was great. And I hope you had a good weekend too. So I'm Mr. Connor and I'm going to teach you for Sunday school today. And today we're going to talk about Joseph and his coat of many colors and his time in Egypt. So, Isaac's son, Jacob, had 12 sons. Now, I bet a lot of you have one or two brothers and sisters, or maybe you don't have any. So, it would be pretty crazy at your house, I bet, if you had 11 brothers. And so of all of those 12 sons, look at them there, Joseph was his favorite son. And so one day, Jacob gave Joseph a brand new coat, and it was as colorful as a rainbow. And next to it, his brother's coats looked old and drab. You can see Joseph's coat, it's very colorful, and his brother's coats are all brown and gray and white. And back then, it was really special and hard to find colorful dyes in clothes. So that made this coat even more special. But because their father only gave this coat to Joseph, his brothers started to not like Joseph very much. And so the brothers started planning of how they could get back at Joseph. So the brothers were taking care of their father's flocks. And so the goats were bleating, and the sheep went baa, while the brothers plotted to get rid of Joseph. There were some traders on their way to Egypt on their camels. Look how many camels do we see here walking to Egypt with all this stuff that they're going to sell at the market. And so as they passed by with some sweet-smelling perfumes and exotic spices, the brothers saw them. And they had a plan that said, let's sell Joseph and send him off to Egypt with these people. And so they took Joseph's coat, they ripped it away from him, and they gave him to the traders. And then they went and told their father that Joseph was gone and he wasn't coming back. And so Joseph went all the way to Egypt, and they left his coat sitting on the side of the road for all the sheep to just walk around on. And so some time goes by, and then Joseph is in Egypt. And while he was in Egypt, he worked for a master, and he worked very hard, and so his master liked him a lot. And while he worked there, he worked with some other people too. He worked with the king's baker, who made him bread, and the king's cupbearer, who squeezed grapes into cups for juice and wine for the king and his friends to drink together. And so while Joseph was working, he would talk to these other workers, and they would tell him about their dreams. So I usually just dream about being late for school or going to work in just my underwear, but these guys had some pretty crazy dreams. One of them said, "Last night I dreamed that I squeezed 3 bunches of grapes into the king's cup." These 3 right there. And he asked Joseph, "What does that mean?" And he told Joseph that after 3 days, the king will give you a better job. And so when the baker had a very similar dream, he said, "I was carrying 3 baskets of bread to the king." And you can see the bread there. And he said, "A bunch of birds swooped down and they took all the bread and they ate it." And he said to Joseph, "What does that mean?" And he said, "It means in 3 days, the king will fire you. You won't have a job anymore." And both of those things, after 3 days, came true. So Joseph understood their dreams and he predicted the future. And so the king heard that Joseph could predict what would happen based on people's dreams. And so the king wanted to tell Joseph about his dreams too. The first dream the king had said that he saw 7 fat cows. These are the fat cows, and they were grazing by the river. And then 7 more cows that were real skinny. You can even see their bones on some of them. They're so skinny. But these 7 skinny cows came down to the river and they ate the big cows. They gobbled them up. Can you imagine seeing that? Those little cows come up and they just eat these cows whole. That's crazy. I can't even imagine it. Only in a dream, I guess. And then he had another dream where he said he saw 7 plump ears of corn just sitting out in a field. But then 7 weak and small ears of corn popped out of the ground. And these ears of corn, the weak ones, ate the big, strong ones. Now, I believe that cows can eat stuff, but I have never heard of corn eating other corn. So that's pretty crazy. So the king had asked all of his wise men and all of his magicians if they could tell him what his dreams meant. But none of them knew what it meant. They couldn't figure it out. But the king heard about Joseph. And so Joseph comes to the king here, and he tells him that both his dreams mean the exact same thing. There will be 7 years of good harvest. So there'll be lots of food and everyone's going to have a full belly all the time. And it's going to be easy going, a good time. But then after those 7 years of good harvest, there's going to be 7 years of famine, which means the crops are not going to grow and they're all going to wither up. And there's not going to be enough food for everyone. People are going to be very hungry. And so when the king heard about these dreams, he believed Joseph. And he decided that he was going to store up extra food every year during all the good years when everyone had enough to eat, so they could save it for when the food didn't grow very well. And so after 7 years of having full bellies, Joseph was right. The crops dried up and there wasn't enough food for everyone to eat. And so the famine spread far and wide, and people all over did not have enough food to eat. And so Joseph's father sent his other sons, the sons who got rid of Joseph so many years ago, to Egypt to bring back some food. Joseph's brothers got to Egypt, and it had been so long that they didn't even recognize him. And so Joseph said to them, "Don't you know your own brother?" And when he said that, his brothers were scared. They did not think they were going to see Joseph again, and they thought he was going to be real mad. But Joseph forgave them, and he told them to bring his father to Egypt. And when Jacob, their father, came, he was so happy that he cried when he saw Joseph, and all of his family was together again. And so his family was reunited. His father and all his brothers were together again. He was so happy that he found his son. The story of Jacob being reunited with his son Joseph is just like when God is reunited with any of his children, like you or me. And so this is a great example of his love for us. No matter how long we are gone, when he finds us again, he is so happy to be reunited with us. And another lesson is forgiveness. Joseph could have been mad at his brothers after the bad thing that they did to him, but he chose to be happy and forgive them. So I think you guys should try to think about things that have made you angry that you need to forgive other people for. So that is the end of our lesson for today. So we will pray and then we'll be done. Dear God, thank you so much for this time that we have been able to spend together, even though we are just talking through a video screen. I pray that everyone has another wonderful week and they stay safe and sound and happy throughout this week until we meet again, whether through these videos or until we can be reunited at church again. Amen. So friends, that concludes this week. I hope that everyone has a wonderful week, and we will see you soon.